Hi friends, I wanted to drop in today and do a little bit of a studio vlog. Reason being that things have been just so busy and so crazy that I feel like I don't want to lose touch with you all, and I want to give you regular updates of what's happening. If you follow me on social media, you'd see my photos and that sort of thing, but it's really nice just to be able to talk directly to all of you, to be thinking of each and every one of you as I'm speaking through the camera. And I want to make sure that you feel like that too, that this vlog is just for you. So first things first, people have asked me a few times, do you have heating in your studio yet? And the answer is no, I don't. I've still just got a little portable heater, and yes, that is a bit of a problem. Often it's so cold that I just can't work out here, even with the heater on. And the heater does tend to be a little bit noisy as well, so if I'm filming classes, it's not ideal. So it's been 2 months that we have been at our new property now, and we're still absolutely loving the lifestyle and everything about it. But there are things, obviously, that we did not foresee that need to be dealt with. For example, the people who were living here previously, the wife would live here full-time, but the husband was away working, so he was generally only here weekends. So our house has for many years only had 2 people living in it, and we're a family of 5. Our son's home at the moment. That makes us a family of 6, and then we are having a guest come to stay for a little while as well, so that makes us 7. And that kind of puts a strain on things like the water supply. There are 2 smallish medium tanks here that we use for rainwater. There's no other water available, no town water connection or anything like that. And there is a really large concrete tank, but it's currently out of action because the previous owners let ivy grow into it. So that water is not usable for anything except the garden. So what we're working on at the moment is getting that tank completely cleaned out, getting it re-roofed because the roof is rusty as well, and then getting that reconnected up to the house again so that we have that really big concrete tank full of water and our water use won't be such a concern. That was something that we hadn't really foreseen, and it's going to cost around $5,000 to get that tank up to scratch. In addition to that, there is quite a bit of fencing on the property that needs to be replaced or repaired, and that is going to cost about the same amount as the tank. So I guess that answers your question as to why I don't have heating in the studio yet. And while it does make things a little bit difficult over winter, we do only have 2 months of winter left. It'll start to warm up a little bit, and then I'll be able to be out here a little bit more. And then hopefully next winter I will be able to get some proper heating put in. None of this is really a concern. We've always lived very frugally and within our means, and that means that for all of our married life, 20 plus years, we have just made do with what we have and waited and saved for the extra things that we need, and so that's exactly what we're doing right now as well. So let me talk a little bit about what I've actually been doing. Well, things have been pretty crazy actually. Oh, the other thing is my washing machine just died yesterday, and anyone who lives in the country knows that you can't just go out and buy a washing machine and have it delivered the same day. So I have ordered a new washing machine, but it's going to be probably at least a week until it's here. So in the meantime, all the washing for 7 people is being done by hand. And then in addition to that, we had a mega storm several weeks ago now. If you follow me on social media, you've probably seen all about that, but there was a big storm, tons and tons of rain. And while our property wasn't damaged, thankfully, we just had 1 tree down that was away from the house. We did lose power for nearly 4 days, and that meant that we had no running water to the house, no heating, and felt like we were living like pioneers for a few days. And so I'm very grateful to have things like electricity back. But all these things happening do kind of put you behind because you can't just go about your regular routine. So I have managed to get my pickup stick class out and finished. Really pleased about that. That's available now at my weaving school. And it's also available as a bundle with the Woe to Go beginners class. You can buy the two classes together for one lower price. And I did that because I feel like the pickup stick class is a really good follow-on. Well, that was kind of my intention when I made it, that it would be a follow-on class from the Woe to Go class. So you can purchase those two together, or if you already have a membership of any kind, whether it's monthly, 6 monthly, yearly, or gold membership, those classes are both included in your membership. So what I'm working on now, and the next thing, is an Inkle Loom class. I have been wanting to do this for, I don't know, years, honestly years, but that's just kind of how it goes with my class list. I've got a long list of classes and I just work through them one by one according to the demand, according to a little bit how I'm feeling at the time. And so I'm finally working on the Inkle class, which I'm really pleased about. So let me tell you just a little bit about it. Firstly, it is going to be a class exclusively for the Inkle loom. Okay, so a few people have asked me, is it going to include how to weave an Inkle band on a rigid heddle loom, for example? No, it's not. It's going to be all about the Inkle loom, and I want to just kind of keep it that way. I'm happy later on to make some additional classes that delve into other aspects of band weaving, like weaving on a rigid heddle, like doing some lettering on the rigid heddle, you know, some more advanced kind of techniques. But the thing is that when I make a class, each class is already so comprehensive within itself and really takes such a long time to put together that if I follow everybody's requests for particular things that they want included in the class, it's going to take a really long time and it's just a little bit much. So this is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, and I think I've made some sort of a decision on it, that although I'm still happy to take requests, and I always really value feedback from my students and from anyone who wants to take a class from me, I'm going to listen a little bit more to what my own mind, body and heart are telling me on any particular thing that I'm going to do. I think maybe over the past 5 years of being an online teacher and building the online weaving school, that I've done a lot to please people, and that's just a natural thing. I like to make people happy, and it's also helped me to build a lot of classes that are relevant to what people want to learn. But at the same time, I've done a lot of things that have put a lot of stress on me and things that I didn't necessarily really want to do. Now, I know in business there are lots of things you have to do that you don't want to do, but I'm at a point now where I need to balance my home life and duties a little bit better with my business duties, because the business has certainly been dominating for some time, a little bit too much, I think. And that's been a bit stressful and a little bit exhausting. So I've sort of gone off on a tangent here, haven't I? But the point is that I think I know my students pretty well, and I think I know what people want to learn, and I'm going to try and balance that a little bit better with what is best for me as well. Let's go back to what I was talking about, the Inkle class. This band here is the first band that we're going to weave in the class. This band will be the kind of set up your loom and weave an Inkle band piece. So the first part of the class is going to be step-by-step directions on how to warp your Inkle loom and how to weave on it, all the different things that you need to know to get started on an Inkle loom. But I'm also going to include some interesting stuff like designing an Inkle band. I'm going to walk you through my own design process, just the way that I like to do things, and show you how a design like this might actually come about. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of designing, something as basic as colouring squares on some graph paper to using some online tools to design your bands. So that's going to be the first part, and I'm going to include lots of tips, things like a lot of people have asked me how to deal with the tie-on threads, so the first warp thread and the last warp thread, how to deal with those. That's a little bit of a tricky issue with Inkle band weaving, and I've sort of got my own ways of doing that, so I'm going to be sharing that. And then in the next part of the class, I'm going to be showing you how to weave a tube on the Inkle loom. This is handy for some people like to weave shoelaces, you know, the round shoelaces. You can also weave flat shoelaces on the Inkle loom. I've got a little example of a tubular weave here. So it's a bit hard to show you because it's so small, but if I turn that around, that is a tube. Can't really show you the inside of the tube because it's too tiny. But we're going to learn how to do that. And then in the last part, we're going to cover baltic weaving. This is the baltic weaving is like a general term for weaving styles from particular European areas, but particularly in the Baltic region. And I was really inspired recently to weave some Baltic type designs by a book that I bought that was Norwegian band weaving. And it's a really beautiful book. I don't recommend it for beginner Inkle weavers, but if you've already woven some bands and you're interested in doing some pickup, it's not written for the Inkle loom. It's written for band heddle weavers, but if you understand the concepts, you can translate the patterns. Anyway, I'll leave a link to that book down below. I'll be including all these kind of resources in the course anyway, but here you can see just some of the designs of that type of weaving. So this is very traditional Norwegian and Baltic style weaving. So I'm going to be covering that, and we'll talk a bit about design as well, and I'll show you a bit about my design process. I'll also show you, of course, my Baltic pickup process, which is a little bit different to other processes that I've seen. For example, when I was first learning Baltic pickup, I didn't do so well trying to learn it from a book. I found the reading of the charts, the way it was set out, a bit confusing. So I devised my own way, which is a little bit different. And in the class, I will probably show both ways because we all learn differently, and it's really great to have different options to try out, and you'll know which one suits you best. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. And also, I was really happy, Annie McHale, also known as a spinner weaver, she is on Etsy. She has written at least two Inkle band books. One's about plain weave, and the second one is about 3-colour pickup, which is really interesting because Annie thinks that there are no similar books out there. This is the first one. I'll link to those down below as well. But she told me about a Lithuanian sash book, and I love Lithuanian sashes. I love any traditional band or sash weaving. But she told me about this book that had been out of print for some time, but then a Canadian folk society has started reprinting it. So I ordered that book, even though it's really expensive to have a book sent from Canada to Australia, but I'm thinking it'll be worth it. It's not here yet, but I'm excited about receiving that book, and I'm grateful to Annie for telling me about it. Another thing I've been working on is I've been doing some crackle weave. I'm going to call it crackle weave because I cannot pronounce the original name of it. It's like, I don't know, I'm going to embarrass myself here. Something like Jämtlandslav. I don't think that's it. It's a beautiful Swedish weave structure, and most people just refer to it as crackle. I think it was Mary Meggs Atwater who coined the crackle phase, and it's much easier to say than the original. If you are from Sweden and you're watching, can you please tell me how to pronounce that? I'd love to know. But you remember from my last video that I was talking about this yarn from Geelong dyeing, and it's this beautiful fine merino, and I couldn't wait to get weaving with this. So I just warped up a sample on my table loom and started with some crackle weave. Now if you're interested in this weaving draft, it is from a hand weaver's pattern book by Marguerite Davidson, the orange one. So I know some of you are lucky enough to have the green one. I'm not that lucky, I've only got the orange one. So in the orange one, it's page 118, and it's the design, the threading draft is called a Scandinavian favourite. You'll see it there on the left-hand side, and there are a few treadling variations there which I'm currently working through, and it's really beautiful. I'm extremely pleased with this merino. I knew as soon as I saw it and felt it that whatever I wove with this was going to be beautiful, but I'm very pleased to say that actually weaving it up, it feels absolutely gorgeous even on the loom, and it looks really beautiful too. I had to use a higher set because it is such a fine yarn, so I warped at 30 ends per inch, and then for the weft I'm doubling the weft. So another exciting thing that I've been doing a little bit of, though not as much as I would like to just because of time constraints, is I've been using and doing samples on my new to me knitting machine. So this is a Singer 323. I bought this from a lovely lady named Mary, and so far I haven't gotten past the sampling stage. I do have lots of ideas about things that I want to make on this machine, but my skills need to improve quite a lot before I can do that. So I have been doing some little samples like this one, trying out different weights of yarn, trying out different colours, different patterns. I've got pattern punch cards that I can put in here to make this kind of pattern, which is really lovely. I did manage to do a really nice Fair Isle sample. I'm pretty pleased with this one. Especially this design is just lovely, and I used a couple of my hand dyed wools to do this, and there's another one, so that's from the punch cards, and some circles. So the ideas that I've got for this knitting machine are, well, first of all, to be able to knit something a bit wider without dropping any stitches, because I seem to be very good at dropping stitches. So I'd really like to do a full width shawl or maybe a lap blanket. Doing things like hats would be really lovely. And I really love knitted Mobius wraps. So I'd love to do some of those as well. And I think I'll get there fairly soon. I just haven't had a lot of time to dedicate to learning how to use this, but I've certainly improved from my first attempts. Another thing that I got recently was I got this card punch, and I also ordered some pattern blanks. So the pattern cards that I put in here, and I don't seem to have one on hand, I'm not sure where they are at the moment. So you get the blank pattern cards, which are made of a kind of plastic, and then you can punch out your own designs and then feed them through and knit them. I think that's really cool. So if you have a punch card machine, they're not all punch card machines, but this one is, it comes with a certain number of punch cards, about 20 different designs, and you can use those to knit these kind of really nice designs. So being able to punch out your own and have your own designs, I love that idea, because I love to have as much of a hand in the design process as I possibly can. So I'm waiting on the punch card blanks to come. I've got the punch, waiting on the blanks to come. I've found a lot of good resources on YouTube, some great videos on there for using knitting machines. If you have any particular recommendations for me, please let me know in the comments below. I'm all ears. So if you watched my last video on the yarns that I just purchased, this is also one of the yarns that I got online. It's a Mandala Lion Brand acrylic. And I was saying about this yarn, the reason that I bought this one is that I know a lot of my students and followers use acrylics, and I don't tend to so much. I have used acrylics for a couple of projects, but I just prefer wool or cotton or linen, you know, more natural things. But I still think acrylics are an awesome option. They tend to be cheaper than natural yarns, and a lot of the time they are super soft, like this one. Beautifully soft. So I've had this one sitting in the studio for a little while looking at me, thinking, I wonder what I can do with this. And I'm thinking maybe about doing a free project here. I'm not sure what exactly, but I have some ideas, because I made a class a little while ago on showing up warp colours and techniques that you can employ to, when you have like a really bright warp or a gradient warp or something specific that you really want the warp to not be overtaken too much by the weft. So I think this would be a really good yarn for that sort of project. So I'm hoping that I can get that organised before too long. We'll see. Plans don't always come to fruition right away, but we can always hope. So keep your eyes peeled, and I may just have a fun project for you before too long. I also want to mention that my beautiful daughter Gemma has a brand new video. This one is really gorgeous. It's a gorgeous song. We filmed this in a shed that we have. There's an old piano in the shed. It's terribly out of tune, but she still makes it sound good. But she's actually playing on the violin, and the reason that we chose this shed for the film location is the acoustics are just absolutely wonderful. We've done some piano, violin, guitar and singing in this shed, and it's all been really good. So pop on over to her channel. You can either search Gemma Casanova, or I'll leave the direct link down below. She would love for you to visit, and she would love your support by subscribing, liking and sharing her videos. Thank you so much. If you stayed to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting me and for listening to me prattle on for this amount of time. There's one last thing that I do want to mention before I go, and that is Myra Wood's new book, Crazy Shot, which is creative overshot for rigid heddle weaving. I'm very blessed to be receiving a copy of the book from Myra as a gift. So thank you for that, Myra. But I've already seen the digital copy. So yes, I've been through the book and I absolutely love it. I have to say it's one of my favorite weaving books of the year. And that's hard to say because there's been so many good weaving books coming out. This one is really awesome, just like Debbie Greenlaw's Croakbrog Patterns book was such a great book. So I love that with weaving books, I think the direction they're moving in is getting into real specifics, getting into modern take on older styles. And I just think the quality of books that I've been seeing has been just really great this year. People keep asking me to write my own book. I'm kind of thinking, why would I, when there are so many great weaving books out there already and more coming out all the time? I just don't think I could match that. Anyway, back to Myra's book, Crazy Shot. It's such a beautiful book. The projects are gorgeous, like you'll be blown away by these projects. So if you've seen my brand new overshot style videos. I've got some here on YouTube. I've also got an Exploring Brand New online class. I'm going to link to all those videos down below. But the technique is picking up in front of the heddle. So all you need is, on your rigid heddle, is one heddle, one pickup stick, and you can do these amazingly beautiful and complex designs. You need a bit of patience, you need some pretty yarn, but what you get is something so beautiful. So if you haven't seen Myra's book, I'm going to link to it down below, but also this week I have a giveaway on my blog. So Myra has very kindly offered to send out a signed copy, a print copy of the book to one of you. All you have to do is pop over to my blog, link will be down below, and read the post. There's a little interview there with Myra to find out more about her. There's a little review from me to find out more about the book, and there are some pictures there as well. And then down below you can leave your comment and enter the giveaway. I'll be drawing that in just under a week. So if you're watching this video sometime in the future, the giveaway will probably be closed already. Okay friends, I've got work to do and I'm sure you have too. Have a great day and a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon. Until next time, happy weaving.